Hello, welcome to Boys Town. It's a hot, sultry day today in the village of Boys Town, and we're coming from a unique location. We're coming from my office here at the Hall of History. So you might hear my phone ring or some noises. That's everybody in the office moving around, having lunch this afternoon. But today I want to talk to you about the history of women at Boys Town and their importance. Because without women, Father Flanagan would not have been able to open Boys Town and keep it going. They're a very major part of our history for many, many years, even on to today. And today I'd just like to highlight some of our staff that have helped us, our donors, and some special visitors, and some of our girls who lived with us. We have a very special donor I'd like to begin with. That was Mrs. Nash. Mrs. Nash was here in the city of Omaha, a prominent society lady, and worked on charities. And she gave Father Flanagan $10,000 in 1920 to open Boys Town. And the first board of directors meeting took place in her home in the city. She was a very integral part of the opening of Boys Town and supporting it in its early years. And without that $10,000 in 1920, Father Flanagan would not have been able to eventually purchase Overlook Farm and establish the village of Boys Town. So we look at her as one of our first major donors and a great supporter of Boys Town. Father Flanagan's big sister, Miss Nelly Flanagan, was important in his life because he had very poor health from the day he was born. Miss Nelly lived with him as his housekeeper to the day he died. She took care of him and treated him almost like a son, and he looked to her as a role model and as someone to help him run Boys Town. And she always stayed back in the background. You really very rarely saw Miss Nelly come forward. And these are some rare pictures that we have of her that were taken. But we have stories of the boys talking about going and visiting Father's house, going to the back door, and Miss Nelly would come out and sneak him a cookie. So she was very important to the boys here on campus too, as a role model of what a mom can be. And after Father Flanagan passed away, she moved in with his brother, Father P.A. Flanagan, and passed away in the 1950s in Omaha, and she's buried here with the Flanagan family. So we always look at Miss Nelly as our role model here of someone selfishly giving their time and energy to help Father Flanagan. And the major person in his life was naturally his mother, Nora. And his mother, Nora Flanagan, took care of him, nurtured him his entire life. And then when he started Boys Town, she jumped right in, founded the Mothers Guild. And this Mothers Guild would go on to exist even today. Today they make quilts for the kids. Back in Nora's time, they cooked, they cleaned, they did everything possible to help Father Flanagan take care of the boys here. And this is an image of her and Father Flanagan and his brothers and sisters and his dad, John, all here in the city of Omaha by about 1913. Another major donor and supporter of Boys Town was Miss Marie Dowd. Miss Dowd was from New York City. She saw the movie Boys Town in 1938 and said, I really want to help Father Flanagan. So she offered to build him a new dormitory. And he said, well, Miss Dowd, I've already constructed 4 new dormitories. We really could use a Catholic chapel. So she donated the funds to create our Dowd Chapel on campus. And she gave $250,000 to do that project, a huge amount back at that time. And this is an image of Miss Dowd when she came to Boys Town in 1941 for the dedication of the chapel. And she remained a supporter and donor of Father Flanagan for many years. And we have an image of her with Father Flanagan standing in front of the old Father Flanagan house here on campus. It was in January, a very cold day, so you can see she has her old fur coat on when she came to visit Father Flanagan, because at that point she was living in Florida. At the dedication of the chapel, she had her own space right in the front pew. And that's a picture of her sitting with a niece and nephew in the front pew. And Miss Dowd, again, remained a donor to the day she passed away. And our chapel today is in her honor and in the honor of her parents and her siblings. And that's what she wanted. She wanted every day the masses would be said there in their honor. And we continue that tradition on today. In the early days at Boys Town, Father Flanagan needed support. And he got that from the sisters in the Omaha community. And this is one of our first sisters, a Notre Dame sister, who came in 1917 to help Father Flanagan. This is Sister Rita. And this image is from 1992 or 82 when we went to interview her. And she had great stories of being with Father Flanagan, working in the first home, and just the struggles they had to keep the home open in those early days. And he depended on the sisters and then other ladies in the city of Omaha to come forward and donate their time and energy to keep the home open. Eventually, we had sisters come from a German order called the Franciscan Sisters. And they were here at Boys Town for several years, taking care of the kids. The largest order of sisters we had here were the Kunigundas, Polish nuns, who came to us from Chicago. And they at one time had about 30, 40 sisters here, and that's a picture of them with Father Flanagan celebrating Christmas here in the village of Boys Town. The sisters dedicated their time and energies taking care of the boys. They did everything on campus. They would help with laundry, and they would help distribute the laundry to the boys. This is an image from the 1950s, the boys picking up their laundry from the sisters. And then they taught in the school. This is one of the sisters teaching in our school. So they were very active in the life of the kids here on campus. That's from 1970. And many of the boys looked at the sisters as being their mother. So we have an image here, one of our former boys, one of the Mitchell brothers, coming back, and he's thanking the sisters for helping them. And the boys did look at the sisters as their role model, as their mother, and many years later, into the sisters' 80s and 90s, our former boys would still write them letters and go visit them and thank them for the work they did to help them here at Boys Town. Also on the campus of Boys Town, beside the sisters, we had a large number of female staff working here, ladies, and they would work in major capacities throughout the village. This is the dining hall. You can imagine feeding the boys 3 times a day, 7 days a week. What a massive job it was. So we had a whole staff of ladies helping with that. We had a hospital here on the grounds, and we had ladies who would work in the clinic with the brothers there, taking care of the boys. Again, with 900 boys, you can imagine something would happen every day where one of the boys would need assistance and help. And then for the education department of Boys Town, this is Miss Virginia Martin. And back in the 1930s, Father Flanagan hired her to be the principal of our school here at Boys Town. Father Flanagan encouraged women to be role models in the community of Boys Town and to step forward. And so for many years, Father Flanagan had them in administrative positions here throughout the village of Boys Town. We also had a teacher here that was our Spanish teacher and librarian. And again, for many of the boys, this was the only female contact they had, and they would form a bond with these ladies going on for many, many years. Back in the 1970s, we had a major shift to campus. That's when we went to the family home program. And instead of having men in the dormitories being what they would call the counselors, we had ladies come with their husbands, and we had family teachers. And this is an image of one of our first family teachers teaching one of the boys how to set the table during in a meal. And then in the early 1970s, we began a project of trying to have girls come to campus. So this is a picture taken from in the city of Omaha, and that's one of our first early images of our girls getting ready to come to the campus of Boys Town. And they're all getting in one of their vans. If you come to the village of Boys Town today, you'll still see vans like this taking our boys and girls throughout the village. And then by the early 1979 or so, we had our official family girls' homes on campus. And this is one of our early pictures of our girls' homes from that time period. They lived on campus in their home, and in each home we had at that time 6 to 8 girls, and they would be mixed by race, age, and religion. And by the early 1980s, they were part of our community. In 1983, we had a milestone in our village. This was the first 5 girls to graduate from our high school back at that time in 1983. It was a huge achievement that the girls would graduate and be part of our program. And you can see they're holding a picture of the first 5 boys, showing the progression of Boys Town from being all boys to being girls here on campus by the 1980s. And this is a fantastic picture of one of our girls. That's Joni, and she's just got her diploma, and she's walking through our grade hall with the other graduates from the class in 1983. And then over the decades, we've had many famous individuals visit us. One of our famous visitors and our favorite was Miss Barbara Bush, the First Lady. She came out and visited our village back in 1986, went to our elementary school, and she promoted reading. So this is an image of her with Father Hupp, our director, promoting reading here. And this is an image of her at the school with all of our kiddos. And she's in with them talking about the importance of reading, and she actually read a book with the boys and girls at that time at our Wegner Elementary School here in the village of Boys Town. One of our kids had the special honor of introducing her and welcoming her into the elementary school at that time. And she remained a good supporter of Boys Town throughout her life, and we really looked at her as a good role model for our boys and girls also. In the 70s, we had a special person come. We had St. Teresa of Calcutta come to receive the Father Flanagan Award. And St. Teresa was amazed by our village of Boys Town. She toured all the buildings, met with the boys and girls, and was just fascinated how our community was organized. And St. Teresa had supporters who said she actually looked to Father Flanagan to be one of her role models. And we have an image of her touring the campus with Father Hupp. And on that tour, as you can see, they walked the grounds. She was just fascinated how the village was organized, and she laid the cornerstone for our Boys Town headquarters building today in the village of Boys Town. And we have a street named in her honor here in the village of Boys Town too, due to her dedication. Another special visitor we had was Mrs. Nancy Reagan. She came out to receive the Father Flanagan Award back in 1986. And she received that award because she promoted a program of Just Say No to Drugs. and that was really important to our boys and girls, even today, many of them who struggle with drug issues and substance abuse problems. She went to our music hall, received the award from our kids, had a luncheon in our community, and actually got to meet some of our children in their homes. And again, she became a lifetime supporter of Boys Town and special supporter of our concepts and ideas. And the kids created special signs as they welcomed her as she came into the village of Boys Town in 1986. And Mrs. Reagan, again, represents the women that have come to Boys Town, supported at Boys Town. Today in our village, we have ladies working in all different types of departments here on campus, working with our boys and girls in our administrative departments, again, being role models to our boys and girls here in the village of Boys Town. And I encourage you again, if you have the chance, to come visit us and learn about our village of Boys Town. And if you would like to support us, please go to boystown.org. And thank you very much for joining me today.